I didn't realize something was wrong until tying my shoes felt exhausting. Not painful, not dramatic, just heavy. I was going to the gym, eating okay, sleeping 6 hours, doing all the stuff that looks responsible from the outside. And still, my energy was gone. Mood flat, focus trash, motivation hanging by a thread. That's when I started questioning my training. Not the weight, not the reps, the type. Because here's the thing nobody tells you early on. You can work out consistently and still train in a way that quietly drains you. No injuries, no red flags, just this slow leak in your battery. Most people never notice it at first. You don't wake up sore, you don't feel broken. You just feel slightly more tired each week. You scroll longer at night. You skip warm-ups. You need more caffeine to feel normal. And you call it being lazy or getting older, even if you're 22. This is where the compound versus isolation question actually matters. Not for aesthetics, not for ego, but for how your nervous system feels at 11 p.m. when you're supposed to sleep. For whether training gives you energy or steals it. Compound movements are the big stuff. Squats, push-ups, rows, deadlifts. Isolation is the small stuff. Curls, lateral raises, leg extensions. On paper, both build muscle. In real life, they hit your body and your brain very differently. And most people don't choose based on their life. They choose based on what looks impressive, or what feels easiest when they're already exhausted. Here's the invisible trap. When your life is stressful, exams, work, bad sleep, phone addiction, isolation work feels safer, less scary, less effort. But that comfort can quietly keep you stuck. Because this is where most people mess it up. They train to feel busy, not better. And in the next part, I'll explain why the easier option often makes fatigue worse, even when you're doing everything right. At my worst, I loved isolation exercises. Not because they were better, because they asked less of me. I could walk into the gym half asleep, headphones in, brain numb, and just move a cable back and forth. No coordination, no focus, no breathing rhythm, just stimulus. Pump, done. And it felt productive. That's the dangerous part. Isolation training doesn't demand much from your nervous system, which sounds good, until you realize that's exactly why it doesn't give much back either. Compound movements force your body to wake up. They ask your brain to coordinate muscles. They demand posture, balance, timing. You can't be fully checked out and do them well. That's why they feel harder when you're burned out. Your system is already overloaded, so anything that asks for full body cooperation feels like too much. This is where people assume, I'm not built for compounds, or I'll switch to machines until I feel better. But here's the quiet truth. Avoiding compound work doesn't protect your energy. It often lowers it over time. Because your body adapts to what you ask of it. If you keep giving it small, disconnected tasks, it never relearns how to move as one unit. So every day things feel heavier. Standing long hours feels harder. Your posture collapses faster. You feel drained by normal life. And you don't connect it to training. You just think something's wrong with you. I noticed it when sleep started getting weird. I was tired, but not sleepy. Wired at night, foggy in the morning. Training wasn't calming my system. It was just adding noise. Here's the part nobody explains. Compound lifts don't just build muscle. They train your nervous system to organize stress. When done right, they teach your body, here is effort, here is tension, here is release. Isolation work doesn't teach that pattern. It just adds more stimulation. And if your dopamine is already fried from scrolling, caffeine, and constant input, more stimulation is the last thing you need. But this doesn't mean only compounds or go heavy or go home. That black and white thinking is another trap. Because the real question isn't compound or isolation, it's when and why. And this is where the right choice depends completely on the season of your life. Here's the mistake I made for years. I thought the goal of training was to push as much as possible, as often as possible. More exercises, more sets, more fatigue. Because that's what serious people do, right? But when life stress is high, your body doesn't separate gym stress from life stress. Deadlines, bad sleep, relationship drama, junk food, late-night scrolling. It all goes in the same bucket. So the question becomes, do you need more stress or better organized stress? This is where compound training shines, when used correctly. Not ego lifting, not maxing out. Clean reps, controlled breathing, moderate loads. Think about how you feel after a good walk. Not destroyed, just settled. Compounds can do that too. A few big movements tell your body, okay, we worked. Now we can relax. That's why people who train this way often sleep better. Not longer, better. Deeper. Fewer 3 a.m. wake-ups. But isolation still has a place, just not where most people put it. Isolation is best when your system is already calm, when sleep is decent, when stress is manageable, when you're not living on caffeine and willpower. In those phases, isolation adds detail. It's like polishing a car, not rebuilding the engine. The problem is, most people try to polish a car with a broken engine. They chase pumps while ignoring how fried they feel outside the gym. Here's a tiny, realistic reset if you're tired all the time. 2 to 3 compound movements per session. Stop 2 reps before failure. Longer rest. Slower breathing. Then, and this part matters, leave the gym feeling like you could do more. Not wrecked, not shaky, just complete. That feeling teaches your nervous system safety, and safety is what allows recovery. This is also why posture starts improving, why shoulders stop creeping forward, why your phone doesn't feel glued to your hand at night. Because your body finally feels regulated enough to let go. But here's the twist most people don't expect. Training the right way can feel boring at first. No insane pump, no ego boost, no chaos. And if you're addicted to stimulation, boring feels wrong. In the next part, I'll explain why that boredom is actually the sign you're finally doing something right, and how to avoid quitting too early. The first time training started working for me, I almost quit. Not because it was hard, because it wasn't. No insane soreness, no crawling out of the gym, no story to tell. And my brain hated that. When you're used to living overstimulated, phone in your face, noise everywhere, dopamine on demand, calm feels uncomfortable. Your mind starts whispering, "This isn't enough. You're slacking. You should do more." That voice is not discipline. It's withdrawal. This is where people jump back to isolation-heavy workouts. More exercises, shorter rest, chasing the burn. They want to feel something. But the feeling they're chasing isn't progress. It's relief from nervous system noise. Here's how you tell which training style you actually need. Pay attention to how you feel 2 hours after the gym. Not during, not right after. Later. If you're calmer, clearer, less glued to your phone, that session helped you. If you're irritable, restless, or craving junk, it probably didn't. Most people only judge workouts by soreness or pump. Those are terrible metrics when you're burned out. This is where tiny habits beat motivation. You don't need perfect programs. You need consistency your nervous system can tolerate. 3 to 4 compound-based sessions per week. Short, focused, predictable. Isolation as dessert, not the main course. And outside the gym, support the signal you're sending. Eat actual meals. Get sunlight early. Stop scrolling in bed. Even 10 minutes earlier helps. None of this is extreme. That's the point. Extreme plans are easy to start when you're emotional. Boring plans are what you stick to when life gets heavy. And here's the part people don't want to hear. If training doesn't improve your life outside the gym, it's missing the point. You're not training to survive workouts. You're training to handle life with more capacity. In the final part, I'll break down how to choose compound versus isolation based on your goal, muscle, energy, mental health, or recovery, without turning it into another overwhelming system. So which one is right for you, compound or isolation? Here's the honest answer I wish someone gave me earlier. Your goal decides, but your state decides first. If you're tired all the time, sleeping light, living on your phone, and calling yourself lazy, start with compounds. Not heavy, not heroic, just enough to remind your body how to work together again. 2 or 3 big movements, full focus. Leave some reps in the tank. That builds capacity. Energy. The kind of strength that shows up when life gets chaotic. If your mental health feels fragile, compounds done calmly are grounding. They pull you out of your head and back into your body. That matters more than aesthetics in those phases. If your life is stable, sleep decent, stress manageable, habits solid, isolation becomes useful. It's how you add shape, detail, confidence in the mirror. But isolation doesn't fix burnout. It doesn't fix bad sleep, and it doesn't fix a fried dopamine system. Most people fail because they train for who they wish they were. High energy, perfect routine, unlimited discipline. Train for who you are today, and let the training help you become more later. Here's the mindset shift that changed everything for me. Training is not a test of toughness. It's a conversation with your body. Some days it needs challenge. Some days it needs order. Some days it just needs you to show up and not make things worse. When you stop forcing, progress sneaks up on you. Energy improves quietly. Sleep deepens. Your phone loses its grip a little, and one day you realize you're not lazy. You were just overloaded. So here's your move. This week, simplify. Pick fewer exercises. Move with intention. Finish feeling better than you started. Not perfect, not extreme, just sustainable. Because the best training plan is the one that gives you a life you actually want to live.